Sound. Good. Sound check real quick. Sound check real quick. Okay, we good to go. All right, what's going on, everybody? This is Travis from Carter Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the Forex market. This is another Trade with Travis morning episode. Hope everybody's doing very well on this morning. As we go through, take a look at some overall trading activity and see if we can be able to find some overall trading pairs that we can be able to get into. Glad everybody's actually here. Or for the people that end up going in live and being able to go from there. Yesterday was not here. We end up celebrating my birthday, so I ended up actually taking a day off for a change, and doing everything else with that. So, with that being said, we're gonna go through the disclaimer real quick. Take a look at about 25 minutes when it comes down to being able to trade, and then after that, obviously answer every question that is on the live stream and everything else like that. But this and Twitch is going to end up being the home of Trade with Travis moving forward and trying to get everything else situated. So for people that are on TradingView and everything else like that, we're going to start being able to send out emails and everything else to those lists and being able to make sure everything is good with that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from that education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. Now, understand that trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money. Also involves risk of being able to lose money, so please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it is not promised that you're going to end up making money today. So with that being said, as we go through and take a look at it, there's a QR code down at the bottom right of this screen. And you're going to end up seeing some QR codes on some of the screens. Actually, you end up seeing them in my background and everything else like that. That's set up for if you want to be able to join our Discord. A Discord is set up for our people that end up trading with us live. It's going to end up being set up with for the people that's going to end up doing our prop firm trading and everything else. So with that, now starting tomorrow, starting November 23rd, there's going to end up being a Black Friday deal on our actually Discord group and being able to get everything else situated. I'm going to end up giving a little bit more information about that, but essentially the prices that we have for our Discord groups right now is going to end up being discounted. And you'll end up having a link that you could be able to take a look at and be able to take advantage of that. So, super excited for the people that want to be able to get started with us. Obviously, done grew the Discord group, done grew pretty much every one of our communities up. But essentially, right now, want to be able to make it, want to make you be able to grow fully with everybody that's trying to be able to do everything that they're trying to do. So, there we go. There's two links that's actually set up right there for you that you can be able to take a look at. For the people in Discord that are actually taking a look at this live, obviously you could be able to talk through the live stream questions, or you can be able to go through everything else like that. But glad to be able to have everybody on. For the people that typically watch, make sure that you end up placing in the comments so I can be able to see where you are. And obviously know that we're going to end up doing pretty much YouTube and Twitch pretty much from now moving forward and kind of going from there. All right, so here we go. What's going on the charts? We take a look at yesterday. Yesterday was a trader say really didn't have that much information that we had to be able to take a look at. Today, we're going to end up having a little bit more of an impactful day. Going into Wednesday and Thursday, obviously, we're not going to end up having as much, especially in the States when it comes down to that. Thursday, you're not going to see pretty much anything, and Friday, you're not going to see pretty much anything. So please make sure with your automation systems that you end up turning those off for Thursday and for Friday. Matter of fact, I'll probably turn it off for Wednesday as well. Depending on how unvolatile the market is going to end up being. Okay, so keep that in mind as we go through. But today, Governor Lowe is going to end up speaking, or he's already spoke a little bit earlier today. Retail sales are going to end up coming out for the Canadian dollar at 9:30. Then after that, we're going to end up having New Zealand dollar have their interest rate statement. So and their policy rate statement that will end up happening a little bit later on today. So there may not necessarily be as much trading activity. Or not necessarily trading activity. It may not be necessarily as much volatility when it comes down to the market, but that does not surprise me. Remember last year when this actually happened, there was a big move Monday, Tuesday, and then after that Wednesday when the market closed. If you did not close out in your positions, then quite frankly, you end up getting caught because the market ended up having a big drop to the downside the day, actually Thanksgiving Day, but it ended up happening later on that night. So keep in mind, as you go through your overall trading and everything else like that, it may be advantageous to you, especially when it comes down to U.S.-based pairs, to get out of those pairs early. Take your profit, and then after that, kind of move forward from there. All right, so let's go ahead and get into what's happening with the big boys. United States dollar index. United States dollar index. What has happened is this. We take a look at it from a weekly perspective. The market is basically back in the buy zone as we end up taking a look at it right now at this point. But remember, market ended up pushing all the way up to the 127, ended up getting all the way up to 13,556. There was a support at 13,282. That support ended up getting broken 2 weeks ago. It tested it 4 weeks ago, but it really broke 2 weeks ago. From there, the market ended up falling all the way down to 12,970, in which that was something that we actually ended up expecting. And since then, the market has had an indecision candlestick, and currently right now we see a little bit more of a, I probably should keep that real quick and see what that's all about. A little bit more of an indecision candlestick right now as well, at least from the start of the day. Remember, when the market breaks out, typically there'll be a retest. So I'm actually kind of expecting that at least for the next day, you may end up seeing something like this. Market tries to push back up, get up to 13,250, and then after that starts to be able to push back down. But currently right now, there's really no proving on that happening as of yet. We take a look at it from a daily perspective. We can see that yesterday's candlestick was, I'm guessing that was bearish, but I got to see what that actually was. I got to probably turn off that candlestick indicator. But currently right now, if we take a look at that as well, that is closer to the buy zone as well. So it doesn't surprise me that the market is kind of taking a little bit of a U-turn. From a daily perspective, I will say the biggest thing is keep a counter trend line break. Allow the market to keep on rising up. There we go. It was green. Keep on taking a look at it. Allow the market to keep on rising up if it's going to end up doing it. And then after that, as soon as it breaks a counter trend line break with a full movement to the downside, then after that, you can be able to pounce on whatever move that you want to be able to do. Currently, right now, I don't think that's the time. I don't think this is the time to be able to do it until you end up getting a counter trend line break. In which, there we go, right there. You see, market went into market went into consolidation. We had our first breakout. From that first breakout, market ended up giving us a counter trend line break, in which we've been seeing that since October, and pretty much every pair counter trend line break happened. It went up, hit the D extension right up here at 13,149 from a 2-hour perspective. Currently, right now, the market is going through its second phase of overall movement. And then from there, once it ends up having another true U-turn, then you have some movement to be able to work off of. We do have a fractal high. I'm kind of surprised that that the Fibonacci hasn't pushed, but we end up going from there. Brian, what's going on, big dog? Hope everything's going well with you. So I'm kind of surprised that the market hasn't made a push up to the upside as of yet, but I think that that's probably going to end up happening at some point in time. We're going to end up seeing somewhat of a U-turn based off of that movement, or counter trend line break and a push back up. So take a look at what a trend line is. Keep that in mind. If the market starts to be able to show a U-turn by the trend line, then after that, that will probably end up being the area where I would look at being able to make the biggest move to the upside based off of that. So somewhere around there, because it's done touch in that area. Surprised there wasn't a field. Surprised there wasn't a new field they end up getting made. So I'm going to create a custom field right here, and we go from there. Brian, yesterday, was it a green day or red day for you? Take a look at it. Market can go to the 382. It could fall down to the 382. Or it's close to the 382 already. I'll look for a U-turn from there as well. Green day for me as well. I also like the confluence. 13,248 would be the extension off of that. That kind of makes sense when it comes down to that movement. So counter trend line break, and we'll kind of go from there. Yeah, I held on, Brian. I ended up holding on to that US yen trade that I ended up posting out, and um, actually ended up cashing out yesterday. I should have cashed out way earlier than what I did, but I let the Skywalker EA kind of run that because I was uh, too busy doing all other stuff for my birthday situation. But um, um, ended up getting, I want to say, about 80% of the growth that it actually made. So um, kind of happy about that. I show what that looks like in my FX book. I actually got to upload a new or create a new section for that. Let's go. U.S. oil. Okay. All right. All right. So, haven't took a look at oil in a couple days, so it's gonna be kind of good to take a look at it and kind of get an understanding about what's happening. Get rid of these dots real quick. So, long term, what's been happening? Market failed. Market went um and ended up having a B of 129. That's exactly when the war in Ukraine ended up really kind of peaking. Um, and then after that, market started to make a little bit of a U-turn. We started looking at downfields to kind of get an idea about where the market was going to end up going and kind of correlating that with the upfields that we end up having. Market fell all the way down. Excuse me. Market fell all the way down to the 618. When the market fell all the way down to the 618 of this downfield, we ended up having a break out of this overall downward channel. Since then, from a daily perspective, the market has stayed inside of this consolidation area. We end up taking a couple trades in this area. One where we end up taking trades all the way down to 77.11, and then after that we end up taking trades at 86 around that area. Now, what the market has proven to us is that now oil is in a larger consolidation block overall that we could be able to take advantage of. So I'm gonna get rid of all of these plans that we end up having from a while ago because now none of those plans mean anything at this particular point. Um, Now is the time to be able to show where oil is and kind of get a better predictor about what's going to end up happening because it's done proven that there's a natural support, and that natural support is right around 70, right around 77. Um, so natural support is at 77. We know our natural resistance has been at 93. Okay, so we're in the middle of that consolidation. Now, at this particular point, for the people that have been trading with me for a while, for the people that actually end up knowing, they know that this is not an area to be able to look at trading anymore. We are in true consolidation when it comes down to this point. So the simple rules is this: you want to buy support, you want to sell at resistance. Everywhere else does not matter. Currently, right now, because we are at 81, um, this is a area of does not matter. Unless you truly just want to buy it and place your stop loss way below the low, and then try to see if you can be able to ride this joker all the way out, and see if it'll end up popping up to the upside finally and breaking above 93. Now, there's still a lot of meat on the bone when it comes down to this trade. But don't get that misconstrued. But I personally do not like trading inside of consolidation. The one thing that I do like is this though: the market ended up falling down yesterday after having a big drop, and from there it seems like it's done stabilizing. And 77.11 was a true consolidation area. So hypothetically, if you were to trade this, then the trade will end up being legitimately right after this 2 hour candlestick ends up getting into the buy zone. And then once you end up looking at being able to buy it, or buy it in that area, it end up being something like that. That will be your buy. Your stop loss will end up having to be below the swing low. Um, Swing low was at 75, so I would say place it at 75 for the stop loss. Um, and your take profit can end up being in two positions, well, three positions to be honest. The first position will end up being at the halfway point. Halfway point will end up being right here, in which I'm going to place it in green. Like, yeah. We end up being at the halfway point, which end up being 85. The risk versus reward on that one would not be, possibly be a 1-to-1. So you got 45 and no. The risk reward will be off on that. If you're gonna end up taking it, it's going to you're going to have to be able to ride this all the way up until 93. Unless you like doing a one-to-one. I personally do not like doing one-to-one trades. Does not make any sense from a risk reward standpoint. There's better trades out there to be able to get into. But we do know for certain now that 77, 75 to 77, that's the natural support. We do know that the natural resistance is 93. Currently, right now, we're very close to that overall area from a weekly standpoint. Are we in the buy zone? From a weekly standpoint, we are actually in the middle of a no trade area. The daily perspective, we're in the buy zone. From an overall price action standpoint, we're in the middle of consolidation. It's up to y'all about if y'all are gonna end up taking that trade. Me personally, even though I know it's a winter months, and typically in the winter months you typically see that the market will end up having to pop up to the upside. I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna pass right now. We'll see what happens once market kind of goes into the buy zone. But I see that the market has stabilized and found support. That's the only thing that I like being able to see on this. Kind of like a head and shoulders pattern. A weird head and shoulders, but kind of like a head and shoulders pattern. I will still kind of wait. I'll still wait to see what happens. All right, gold. Take a look at what's happening with gold. Market had its support at 1671, and there was a natural resistance at 2000. Midway point was at 1872. What's happening is that the market ended up falling into support, fell into consolidation as well. From there, the market ended up breaking out of that consolidation, which is this yellow area to the upside. Once they end up breaking out, the market ended up doing a retest. That retest has been for a few days now. The overall area where I thought the market was going to end up basically doing a retest was at 1729, which will turn past resistance into future support. It ended up having a ascending triangle, a rising wedge that was broken to the downside. Currently, right now, we have a chance of being able to see a counter trend line break at some point in time. And that some point in time will probably end up being right where the D extension has been. The D extension on this one's at 1735. The actual low that ended up happening was at 1732. 17. That's pretty much good for me when it comes down to this movement. But I will say, because we're in a 2-hour sell zone again, take a look at the United States dollar starting to gain a little bit more strength before people start taking off on Wednesday. So it may end up having an upside move. It may end up having a downside move before everything happens, before being able to make that movement. And then after that, we'll see what happens from there. Hope you're able to enjoy your birthday. No, everything was cool, bro. Everything was really cool. I don't. It's kind of weird. I don't like necessarily celebrating myself. I like celebrating others. And we're being very honest. 35 for me. I even though I had a lot of growth, there was still a lot of pitfalls, and quite frankly, 35 could have got the heck out of here. For me, I'm glad the big man allowed me to do it, and to be able to go through those struggles. But we got a lot of stuff to be able to take care of going into 36 and beyond. But that's growth more than anything else. They always say, well, after storms come sunshine. Let's see. All right, so currently right now, same deal. I'm going to kind of hold off, see how the United States dollar reacts going into the 8:30 and 9:30 time Wednesday. I'm probably going to end up turning off my systems and not allowing any more trades. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that as soon as we get out of here, because I want to make sure that I'm not jumping into nothing stupid or get placed into nothing stupid as we go through. But everything else, everything else will be okay. Let's see. All right. Next trade. Let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin real quick. We'll see what's happening with that. And be able to make the move from there. So, what did we say on this one? Bitcoin was going through a couple triangles, going through a couple areas where the market could be able to fall. And from there, since then, the market has failed and broke below the 15,800 support. Now, when I end up looking at this before, I end up saying that if the market was to fall right there, then the market could go all the way down to 12,655. The next area where the market could fall could be all the way down to 14,200. Now, keep this in mind, as the market is kind of making its way to the downside, as the market can make its way to the downside, as we go through and take a look at this, the reason why we say at 12,000 is because that is the low volume node kind of support. That's where the next high volume node is actually going to end up starting. So let me take a look at this from a my volume node perspective and kind of give you a little bit more context. Obviously, we take a look at it from Ichimoku Cloud. We can see that the market is bearish. We see the market have a couple strikes when it came down to that movement. Fell all the way down here. We've had natural support that's been building up, or we've had a natural high volume node that has been showing based off of this consolidation right here. Supports have been at 15,600, 15,600, 15,600. Resistance has been 15,887. If I zoom out a little bit more, you can see that we're still pretty much in a bearish phase that could continue to keep on happening. I don't know if there's any type of negotiable high volume node. I don't know if there's any type of catalyst that would change anything. Let's see. Order pay reimbursement fees. Okay. I don't see anything when it comes down to that. I think that the market's still to the downside when it comes down to that movement. Now, let's go to a 15-minute perspective and kind of get a little better, get a better idea about, once again, if this market falls, what's going to happen. Okay, there we go. Here goes your context. All right, so as the market keeps on falling down, the next support that could be hit, the next major support that could be hit is at 12,000. I mean, it's at 11,600. Okay, that takes us all the way back to the movement right before everything ended up popping in 2019 and early 2020 and early July. So the market is there's still more bearish movement that could happen to the downside. We are still in this vortex area of from here all the way to here. Okay, so the push or the breakdown ended up happening yesterday, which is a good thing for us because it's at 1721. I would still say that there's more bearish movement that we could be able to take advantage of. Now, from a 15-minute perspective, from a 2-hour perspective, I can see that the market is showing the same type of triangle or showing the same type of movement that we've been seeing over the course of the last few moves. And this one is not necessarily a triangle. This is actually a little bit more of consolidation. As this market kind of remains to be inside of this overall area, there's really no movement that you could be able to take unless you're just trying to sell it and you're trying to hope that the market will stay to the downside. If you're going to do that, stop loss has to be, I would say stop loss has to be above this swing high right here. That'll give you a little bit of room. And then after that, look at the take profit all the way down to 12,000. All right, that's if you're trading this based off of a margin account. If you're doing this just based off of a long-term hold, from a long-term hold perspective and you're trying to buy, I wouldn't dollar cost average in this area. I would actually hope that the market kind of falls a little bit more before being able to make a movement. Okay, so that's just my personal opinion. The market has broken down from this consolidation area that we end up talking about. If you have a margin account, this would be the area where I will actually kind of look at being able to sell. We actually are right up underneath that area, so we had a breakout. We had a little bit of a retest. Um, you are looking at being able to sell at two different positions where you can take profit 14,200 or 14,220, and then after that, going down to 12,655. In which we know that we've seen based off of the daily 11,600 could be the area where the market could truly fall. But you want to get out early, that would be the position. Okay, for the people that are watching, hopefully that makes sense. Go ahead and set up this game plan. We already have it right here. Let's see. Let's move it over here. All right. So there we go. If I'm doing this, if I'm taking a stop loss, which or I'm looking at being able to sell, stop loss has to be above um, um, 16,160. Above 16,160. TP1 would be 14 to 20. TP2 12,660. Long term hold 11,660. We know that's a support. I'm getting 12,660 from a Fibonacci. Um, 11,660. Oh, was it 11,660 or 11,600? Well, no, 12,000. Just to be safe. All right, so let's say this 12,000. Okay, cool. I'm gonna set up an order. Um, Now keep in mind, everybody, I'm gonna set this. I'm gonna set this order up in demo. I'm not gonna take this one as a live trade. I just want to see though. I want to see if the thought process and everything else that I end up having off of this one is right. Um, but keep in mind, I'm not throwing my live money in this. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm being very clear on that movement. But I want to see if I'm right, obviously. Now, if the market kind of gives me a better idea that the market is ready to be able to make a move like that, then, and we can be able to get into it, then obviously that would be the thought process. That would be the move. Okay. Order is placed in. Let's see. Order. Bam. That's in and 14,220. All right, cool. Both of those are in. We'll see how they go, and we'll kind of place that in and see how we'll see how that kind of ends up plans out overall. Okay. All right, now let's go US yen. US yen was really the only trade. US yen and US 30 was really the only trades that I was placed into, or I ended up placing myself into. Well, no, I was placed into the Skywalker EA. Ended up placing that in. Obviously, for the people that are in the Discord group, you end up getting a discount when it comes down to that, and being able to place that in. As long as once you're in the elite, you're able to be able to use that from a month-to-month standpoint and be able to go from there. I will have updates on that overall. But what ended up happening was that we ended up taking some trades off of that a little bit earlier. Market ended up getting in right around at 140. Ended up taking a whole bunch of partial exits right around this overall top area before the market actually ended up falling down. Currently, right now, we're actually in two buy trades at this particular point that were placed in on this one as well. Entry was at 141. Stop loss is at 140.60. Take profit is at 144.78 and 145.288, respectively. When it comes down to these pairs, we'll see how everything kind of plays off when it comes down to that. Now that is the Skywalker EA, the Skywalker Max, in which I'm still going through beta when it comes down to that, but that will be posted up in the MQL. MQL database and everything else like that as well, was actually placed inside of a trade to the downside as well when it came down to that. Now, if you're interested in any one of those links or any one of those EAs, you go to the useful links down at the bottom. You can be able to see those as hyperlinks to be able to get more information about all of that information about those. All right, but let's talk about it from a manual trading standpoint first. From a weekly standpoint, the EA, or from a weekly standpoint, the market has pushed up to, or pushed all the way up to 151. Market ended up falling to the downside, broke a inner and outer trend line. Since then, remember, when there's a breakout, typically there'll be a retest. The retest has started to happen. Remember, we were coming from a transition trade. When you have a transition trade, the weekly and the daily have been in the sell zone, basically in the sell zone, and you've seen basically all-time highs or all-time low prices. So the market will end up having a huge retracement that will end up happening. That big retracement ended up going from 151 all the way down to 138. So now the market is kind of stabilizing and kind of having a little bit push back up to the upside. There's no guarantee that it's going to end up being truly ready to go to the upside, but there has been a little bit more of a U-turn. Now, we take a look at this. It kind of failed. It went from the outer trend line, bounced off the inner trend line, made a triangle, and then after that started to push back up. Since then, the market has retested this overall area. We take a look at it from a 2-hour perspective. We're starting to see that U-turn happen right now at this particular point. So there goes your breakout of the triangle. Your retest is actually starting to happen at this particular point as well. We end up getting in at 140. 140 was basically the bottom area of this overall spot before actually pushing up. And that's good for a breakout EA. That's exactly what you want to be able to do. You want to catch the market as soon as it ends up breaking out, so you can be able to ride the wave of it, kind of making that U-turn. Seeing the market go all the way up to 140.20, and I was up a little bit more when it came down to this movement, but ended up getting out of it, or the system ended up getting me out of it because he ended up seeing the U-turn. Currently, right now, as this market is kind of pushing up, I will wait for and kind of see what type of retracement this market is going to end up giving, because currently right now it's in an R5 type of movement. Or no, let me rephrase that. Currently right now it's in an 80-20 type of movement. Market only retraced to the 236, fell all the way down to the 127. When it fell all the way down to the 127, popped back, went into consolidation. typically there's two areas where this U-turn will end up stopping, or will end up basically making its moves. The first one end up being the B. Market broke above the B, and then after that pushed up. The second area will end up being the previous 382. So the previous 382 is right here. So it wouldn't surprise me if the market tries to push up to 143 after this counter trend line break. Remember, October and November has shown us that the market has been trending and opposite, been trending, so it's been showing U-turns. So I do expect that we may end up seeing a retest, and then after that, U-turn to the upside based off of this. But currently, right now, there's really nothing to do until that counter trend line break actually happens off of US yen. All right, we're gonna end this off with US 30. And then after that, we'll kind of go from there. If anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to be able to ask those questions. And also, please make sure that y'all end up going down into the description. Take a look at some of the useful links and everything else like that we have that you can be able to take a look at, that you can be able to join, including our Discord channel and everything else like that, when we end up having further information that goes along with that. Okay, so there it is. But US 30, we're going to end up ending off on this one. And going from there. So US 30, what has been happening? I have a lot of lines. All right, from a daily perspective. From a daily perspective, this sort of perspective overall. Market ended up falling all the way in October, fell all the way down to 28,680. Since then, the market ended up having a huge jump up to the upside. Basically started to retest its overall counter trend line break. Now, the thing about this is that this is your fractal high. Your fractal high is at 34,130. The market has been trying to push up there, but it has not been able to succeed. With that being said, because the market has been pushing up to the upside as much as it has, this may be one of those situations to where this may be your fractal high that we're going to end up working off of when it comes down to this movement. And if there is a fractal high, that means that, or if that is a fractal high, then that means that we should expect that the market should have a little bit of a U-turn. Now, the reason why I'm suggesting a U-turn is very simple. If we take a look at this from a daily perspective, we can see all of these candlesticks that have had sellers start to block off the overall highs of these positions at 13,960. 33,960, 33,960. That happened 3 weeks in a row where it got denied. The market is trying to push up to this overall resistance right now as you're taking a look at it from an hourly perspective. The market is inside of this consolidation as we speak. We talked about the small consolidation when that news came out. The market fell, gave us 2 chances to be able to make profit, and then after that, push back inside. So these trades in the inside are, or at least the downside trade, is over with at this particular point. I'm going to keep that there because we might have to use it in the future because that position has not been essentially finished. This was our upside move. Our upside move was at 33,970. The market pushed up above that area. It would have been at 34,210 to the upside. But the market ended up making that movement to the upside from there. Now, I'm saying that strategy 4 will probably be better on this one. Strategy 4, if you're not familiar with what we do with the Vortex strategy, is that I'm suggesting that the market will end up pushing up again and getting back up to this area right here, that 33,960. I think that it could get up to that 33,960 area, and then after that, start to reject, and then it may end up rejecting and falling for a good bit. Obviously, we know that we have we're in another consolidation inside of this spot, inside of this high volume node that is right here. Once the market ends up breaking up there, will it complete and be able to get all the way up to this overall high and break to the upside? That's yet to be seen. Now, what has been seen is the market has been rejecting off of this area and has been falling. And if that is going to end up being the case, we're talking about at least another 600 points to the downside that can end up being a take profit one. But more importantly, you got another 1,500 points to the downside if that ends up happening. Now, that is assuming that the United States dollar is going to end up getting stronger if that happens. The United States dollar is not going to end up getting stronger, then you will end up seeing that that breakout to the upside could potentially happen. So I still had those pending orders in. The pending order that I end up having was 33, I think 33,980. Let me see. Yeah, 33,980 with a stop loss of 33,770. Take profit will end up being 34,210. That is for if the market ends up breaking out to the upside. Now, if we're going with strategy 4, then that means that you're looking at being able to take a sale right here at 33,960. I'm going to wait and kind of see how this kind of plays out to the upside. The market is kind of breaking up out of this consolidation area. If it keeps on doing that, then we should see that this should go up. That should push up, which means that the United States dollar is going to end up being actually weak. So that means that US yen and everything else like that should actually turn around. Got no trade at this particular point, but if I'm doing anything, if I'm trying to look at being able to sell, if I believe that the market is going to fall, okay, just keep that in mind. My position will end up being up here. That will be the only area where I'll look at being able to sell, from here to here, with a stop loss above that overall area. It'll be a tight stop loss because you don't know what's going to end up happening for it to break out. But I would risk about 100 or so points to be able to see this thing kind of move to the downside if it does. But if it breaks, then obviously you have those trades right there if you're looking at being able to buy it. So it's kind of hedging your bets on that one. Okay. I'm going to give it, well, no, I can go ahead and place in an order. I'll place in a pending order. And if I don't like it, I'll just cancel it. Highs of those candlesticks is at 33,950. Do I want to go 950 and ensure that I'm getting into the trade, or do I want to go higher? Okay. I'm going to say 33,950. 33,950 will end up being the area where I look at being able to sell. Stop loss will end up being at 3460, so 110 pips. Take profit will end up being at the low of the support, which will end up being at 33. I'm going to say 33,320. Strategy 4 positions, you don't put in a lot of you don't put in a lot of percentage on your trade. There's really no reason to be able to do that. So risk, I'm only going to go 2% off of this trade. Pending order is, all right, there we go. So there we go. We're going to close out today. Hopefully they end up making a lot of sense for everybody. If you like what I end up doing, please make sure that you end up subscribing to the Trade with Travis YouTube page. Obviously, want to be able to build up this group and everything else like that. Make sure that you end up jumping inside of our Discord. And for the people that are in the Discord group, please expect that you're going to end up seeing a lot more. There's still a lot more content and everything else like that that will be pushed out a little bit later on today and moving forward. Like I always, make sure that you end up planning your trade your plan. I see each and every one of y'all in the next video. Thank you. Take it easy.